Good evening.
Good.
Good evening.
I just wanted to look at that beginning, that promo over and over and over. I tell you.
Oh man, yes. We got your book out there so people can see it.
Yes.
Making
You
sure.
When I grow up.
Man, let me tell you, today I have to admit, I am definitely feeling the tiredness. I could sleep. I feel right now like I could possibly do 3 days of straight sleep.
But that's good
That's
because
how I feel
you
like right now.
don't sleep.
That's true. And I feel like I could do 3 days. I really do. And I'm thinking about my tomorrow, what I have on, and I'm like, oh Lord,
Is
okay.
that gonna
I have to
tomorrow?
clear out my office tomorrow. I'm doing my Asia teaching tomorrow night. I got a new workbook I'm working on right now. I don't know. Green
That's what I
tea.
want to ask about, don't you?
Green tea may be my tablets tonight.
Box.
The box. I know.
I'm gonna keep talking about that box until that
The
box.
box is coming. That's
Okay.
part of one of the things I'm working on.
Okay.
That is one of the things I'm working on. So let me please, because I'm just starting a conversation here, let me say hi to all of our Let's Talk Agile people. You have seen this lady with me before. You may think, hold on, it's not Tuesday. What's going on? That's correct. It is not Tuesday. It is Thursday. And we were expecting to have Victor in April, but Victor's a new daddy. My regular co-host, yes, he just become a new daddy day before yesterday. So he's got a little bundle of joy. He's got a gorgeous little bundle of joy. So I said to him, yeah, bye. I'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. He didn't want to talk to us. It's about the baby right now.
Right now. It needs to be babying. Enjoy baby. So he's doing that tonight. So that's why he's not here with us. But today she's not here as a co-host. Today she's here as a guest. Because as you know, on Let's Talk Agile, one of the things we look at when we're looking at being Agile, we're looking at all the people who are not necessarily part of our industry. So they don't understand our terms and our lexicon and don't really mean anything to them. Yet they embrace our principles and values. They just don't call them by the same names. But we have noticed everybody who has been successful, who has been moving along in something in their life, who has got over something, has become something, has utilized the principles, even though they didn't know them at the time.
Yes.
So when we invite guests on, it's to let them tell them their story, and we narrate it with Agile for our Agile audience. So all of my Agile people out there, welcome, welcome, welcome. Glad that you are here this evening. And those of you who are not necessarily part of our Agile community, but you're on the Facebook community, I want to say good evening or good morning. Because if you're in India right now, it would be good morning. So depending on where you are in the world, welcome, 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 you beautiful human hue, to this show where we're going to talk about Agile. So let me start by saying you've got so much stuff on right now. So you'll want to talk. You got a lot of things going on right now. And in the midst of all what you've going on, you're still being a fabulous support to your clients. You're being a support to your family and your close friends because you're just there for everybody.
You got to be. Listen, I want you to know, I just hopped off of a launch, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I told everybody on there to be unrealistic. I need you to be unrealistic because according to Will Smith, he said the best way to find your way to being mediocre is to be realistic. To be realistic. So be unrealistic. And guess what? You're going to love this. Why did I tell them, listen, what if?
Oh,
what if you got out your own way? Yeah. What if you started that thing that you've been saying, if I had this and if I had that and if I had this, I would start it. What if you just started it and just was successful? What if you actually tomorrow decided it's going to be a good day, even if you didn't feel like it? What if I what if them and they were like, what?
It is so powerful. That is so
what if
powerful.
Is the new thing. What are we going to do?
That is definitely our new thing.
What are we going to do, man, Lizzie? Listen what you started, Mandy.
So, Mandy, you have started a movement here, and I'm bringing that to this audience. So, in our Agile world, one of the things we like to talk about is created an environment that if you create an environment and you step back and you just allow people to be, most amazing things will happen. We talk about it being emerging architecture and design.
Oh, I like
But
that.
what if is the perfect platform for emerging architecture, for emerging design, not just the design of products, right? Not just the design of solutions, but the design of your very existence,
Yes.
which is just, mind blowing. So, Mandy, I just narrated your what if with Agile. Even though you're not here, you will be, as she will be a guest at some point. I just narrated what it is you do in our language in our Agile world. You
And
have
Mandy,
a tool that we can emerge.
anything you can be. You know, when you're a little girl,
Right.
and maybe you've heard this, even if it wasn't said to you, you heard it said about somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
You could be anything you want to be. You could be a queen. You could be a princess. You know, now you could be the president of the United States.
Right.
But what if you start moving toward that thing?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever it is. And
Simply,
this is so bananas because I use this example when you're talking to leaders, right?
mm-hmm.
Now I'm gonna hit him with this what if. But here's the deal. At first, and like even with my clients, I use a tool, the Gallup. I use a tool so you can see what their strengths are, your strengths and your weaknesses,
Right.
blah blah blah. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Great leaders actually put their employees in places of their strengths.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You know you're in a great company when you go in there and you the person that is in charge of the creative design, you like, oh yeah, that's their gift.
Right.
I mean, you can see it. It oozes out of their pores.
Mm-hmm.
What if whatever it is that you're really good at, you actually go do it instead of being in that thing that you hate?
Right. Instead of being
It's the thing. Listen, we all know. Now, let me just come in close. Look. As my girlfriend Gloria likes to say, come, let me talk to you. Come, let's come. Let me talk to you. We all got to work that job sometime. But what if while we're working the job, we're preparing to do the thing that we love? And we put as much effort into it as we do that job.
Job. Can you imagine that?
I mean, really, you know, they say that we are that the worst boss to have is to be your own boss because we are so critical of ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we don't give ourselves necessarily the pep talk, right? So we don't pull ourselves to one corner and say, I know you've been going through some stuff. And if you need just a little bit of time to recoup and get yourself together, we will gladly, give you that time. We don't say that. Instead, what you say to yourself is get yourself together.
Come on now. I mean, a whole conversation. Lizzie,
Right?
get yourself together, girl. You got stuff to do. But no, Lizzie, I like this one. Listen, I know that that project I gave you was a bit much. Listen, who can I get you to help you? I mean, listen, I'm going to give you a few people to help you. Let's get you some help. Do we say that for ourselves? Heck no.
No, because now if you're reaching out for help, you're feeling like there's some sense of failure. There's something that, I shouldn't have to reach out for help. I should be able to do it all by myself. I should be out there. And you feel all these things. When in fact, we are human. We are human. And our first value is about individuals and interactions over processes and tools. Ooh. So if there is a process in mind where you think you're not strong in that process, well, then reach out and make that connection with another individual who may be absolutely strong in that process. And by making that connection with that individual who's absolutely strong in that process, guess what? Now you're able to achieve so much more.
Wow. See that right there?
Because you've expanded your reach. And that's our number one value is individuals and interactions. And what you've just spoken to me about is individuals and interactions. Reach out for help because we don't. And our whole industry is about connecting and collaborating. so that you increase your bandwidth. Because one of the things we talk about is it's one thing to be an individual and be great, but we like everybody to be a generalizing specialist because we're not looking for everybody to be a guru. Because if you're a guru, it's all you.
That's right. That's correct.
Right? But if you're a generalizing specialist, you know a little bit of this, you know a little bit of that, and you know somebody else who knows a little bit of that, and somebody else who knows it. So together we know so much that when we come together as a team, come together around problems, we have the ability to solve them because together we have all the knowledge that we need.
Ooh, and let me tell you, it's so funny because we talk right now. We're learning to see the whole person. And you think that if you just bring that part of you to work that they need, that just that part, that you somehow can leave the rest of who you are, and it's not even needed there. But if you bring all of who you are, I mean, that thing that they didn't even know you had that's your gift.
Right.
You have somebody on your job or if you work with, and all of a sudden you put them on a certain project, or you put them in charge of the project, and they rise up like the cream. You're like, did you know that person was gifted with that? You didn't know because no one ever gave them the opportunity.
Right. It wasn't even a conversation piece.
No.
It was, well, that's not on your resume, or we're not aware that you have that skill.
Exactly. Or we didn't even look that way because we like to put the same people in the same place because we're dealing, instead of within people, we're dealing with processes.
Right.
But in the real world, we're dealing with people.
Right.
People. Even when we're dealing with machines, they're people. There's
Yeah,
got to be a person in there.
People. They're still there to serve people. Even when people want to go ahead and say, well, it's a machine. What was the machine built for? Who was the machine built for? It was built to make the life of some human somewhere better in some way.
Oh, wait a minute. I heard from Bob Proctor. I'm not sure if it was his thoughts. But he talked about when we think about machines, let's talk about the number one, the most intense machine, the best super machine in the planet is us, the nervous system, the body. I mean, listen.
Right.
Without me even doing anything, it's taking all of these different things just to move my arms and hands. That if something wasn't working here, then my head and my brain is saying, oh, move your arm, but it won't move. But because everything is working like it's supposed to, at least right now, right, everything is moving. But when we remember that we're dealing with people who have the best system in the universe.
Right.
Let me tell you, I want to tell you a story.
I'm going to hold you because so we know I know you're a speaker, so you can go tell me a story. But we need to hear your story. So I need you to hold that, float it like a balloon, put it on the backlog, as we would say. Put it on the backlog, right? And I'm going to ask you in that same thing, what collaborations were priceless to you, and why do you think collaborations are needed? What collaboration was priceless to you to get you to where you are? What collaboration was priceless?
Oh my gosh. So many, but I'm going to tell you a couple off the top. Okay, so here's the deal. Let's just say I am a speaker and I'm an author and I'm a coach. By myself as a speaker with zero collaboration, I'm just a person that is gifted and talented and not connected to anyone. And I'm going to tell you, telephone, television, telegram, tell another person. If somebody else speaks for you in the big room, you'll get further than you speaking for yourself, right? I had a mentor. My mentor, like most people, see something in you that you don't even see. So I knew that I was good at the thing that I went to school to be good at. But she was like, you have a gift. You can talk. You can not only can talk, but you can empathize. You can give a message. You can communicate. Got it. All right, great. She realized that sometimes you can be so close to the person that they can't hear you, or they might miss your message. So she took me to an event where who was already super bad by herself, was receiving an award at this event called SpeakerCon, where I saw, just to me, it's we like my head was on a swivel. I was just looking at all of the amazing people who I aspired to be. Like my mind was already thinking, okay, what do I need to do? What do they have that I don't have? What makes them awesome? That why am I sitting here looking at them? Why aren't they looking at me?
Mm.
So she introduced me to the person that led the event. I'm talking the founder of all of this. I started following her.
Mm-hmm.
I just started doing collaborations with her. She watched me. I watched her, and finally, what I was told was that about a collaboration is this: you have a tool, you have a thing, I have a thing, and our things by themselves are great or good, but when we get together, we're unstoppable.
Mm-hmm.
I connected with this woman, Dr. Sherwood, actually, and my whole speaking career just jumped off the ground like it was always there, like it was always destined to be. That was one. I wanted to be a coach. You know, here's the deal: if you're going to be a coach, if you're going to be a speaker, whatever you're going to be, go to Goat Mountain. Get trained by the very best. Get visible. I learned I need to be visible.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to tell you that I reached out and I look for whatever it is that I want to do. And I find the people that do it best that I see and that my research tells me. And once I build that collaboration with them, it builds credibility, respectability.
Yes.
Right? Innovation. Because first of all, you may not have the tools. You may have this thing, but you don't have that.
Right.
Connecting with you. I'm like, that doggone Lizzie done got me on more platforms. Here's the deal. You don't know what you think your gift is this big and it's only important in this world. But what you have to you may be this because you see it all the time, so this big to you. But the rest of us, it is as big as this room because it's something that we either needed, didn't know we needed yet,
right,
or something that we felt that was so far from us that we couldn't reach it, we couldn't touch it, and we couldn't grab it. So I'm going to tell you, collaboration means everything to me. Because right now you can do what does it say? If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
The pace may be different, which is one of the things we talk about: sustainable pace. Finding a pace you can do on a consistent, repeatable fashion. Because if you have sustainable pace, then you can always do it.
Yes.
Right? Because it's like a rhythm. It just keeps going. When you have something that's not sustainable.
Talk about it. If we're talking about just something, listen, don't do anything willy-nilly.
Right.
Like, look, is it, Doc, listen, can we track it? Because if it's not trackable, you just flying by the seat of your pants.
Right.
If it's not trackable, how can you teach someone else? If it's not trackable, how do you know that you succeeded? And we need to see the wins. And I'm going to tell you, I am a creative type person, right? So I need to see the win. I need to get a quick win, and I need to know how to not only motivate myself, but I need to know how to put the wind in your sail. Because as long as the wind is in your sail, you gonna keep showing up. And if you keep showing up, I'm gonna keep showing up. He's gonna keep showing up. They're gonna keep showing up. And they tell you, if there's one person on your team, one person on your team that's not that's not in line, or the one person is not buying into the concept or whatever, they're not in it. They don't believe it can happen. If they don't believe whatever you say that is going to happen, that they will derail the entire train.
Absolutely. So it's funny. We have something I like to call this the heart of the Agile Manifesto, and I'm probably the only person in the industry who calls it that. Everybody just calls it part of the Agile Manifesto. But I'm going to read it to you, and you'll see why I say that. It says this: we are uncovering better ways of developing, we say software, but it could be anything, by doing it and helping others do it.
Right.
Right, which is just what you were talking about. If I can help somebody else, So we go on to say that through the helping others do it, through this work of doing, this work of helping others, we have come to value. This is how we've come to value the fact that individuals and interactions is more valuable than processes and tools.
Yeah.
It's because we've been doing it and helping others. And in this helping others, the way the phrase starts out, it starts out with we. And a lot of people we're so used to it. We just kind of miss that. The heart starts with we are uncovering. So if there's anything that you're looking to dig deep into, anything that you're really wanting to find out about, you need a we.
And you all, I would have bet, and I'm going to guess, and you can tell me because you got me intrigued to know even more. So I had a HR executive on my show, and she's an author and she's a speaker, but she says something that was so key because in a book she says she asks her clients if you could be in any role in your company for a day, what would it be? And so I asked her, what would you want to be? And she said she wanted to be the frontline people, like the people, the customer service person, the person that answers the phone, the reception, the first person people greet. And I asked her why. I thought I knew why, but I wanted to know why she thought, what she was thinking. And she said this. She said, because sometimes as you grow, you go up in the corporation, you get up here and you forget about this. And you cannot know what's going on down here unless you're talking to the people down here. And sometimes when you get up here, the people down here don't want to talk to you because you're up here. And that I know this because I remember coming up the ranks. And I remember when I got to the command, I was this rank, I was with the police department at this time. And I was like, what? I remember being with the people. And I'm like, I would roll up and I'm like, why nobody's like, like mad? Why don't they just tell me what's going on? They're like, they're not talking. When you come in the room, they're not talking. I was like, "Are you kidding me? I'm just me." They were like, No. You're not just you. Once you hit a certain rank, you are part of the them. There's a separation. And so therefore you can get disconnected. But you have to be intentional. And I think in those cases, you have to insert yourself. So in my case, you got to come out your office and not your little fancy little spot because you start getting in office and you got to come and get down going on calls for services and things like this. But
that's interesting. We have a principle that talks to that, right? And its principle says this: business people and developers, so the people who are doing the work, right, must work together daily throughout the project, daily.
So that's is that to help them get back?
So because if we're together, we're always understanding. We understand why you're requesting it. The people do, right? So the developers understand why you're asking for this, what it's serving in the big picture. So they're getting to see the big picture while you're getting to understand, well, these are the details to make some of these things work. Maybe this might be something else, right? But let me pull us all the way back to that first value I talked about, individuals and interactions, right? The minute an individual is interacting with somebody else, right, we're saying that we're taking the time, number one, right? If there's an interaction, it means I've got to be listening as well as talking. And then we have another principle, which is one that it has changed kind of our industry, where we talk about the very best way to communicate and share information with another human is face-to-face.
Okay, I agree.
Right. So now, if you are going to talk with somebody else face to face, right, the actual wording is the most efficient and effective method of conveying information. So the most efficient and effective method of conveying information to and within a team is face to face communication. Right. Now, if I'm face to face with you, you're not up on top of me, and I'm not down below you.
And I can see your body language. I can see your body language, and there can be no misconception. An email is so, what's the word I'm looking for? It's so cold. And
Right.
plus, I don't know what you mean by it.
That's right. An email can come over and you're like,
Right. Because, listen, you put too many exclamation points or some caps on there, and I think you're screaming at me. You just might be an exclamation cap type person. I don't know, right? You may be typing, writing it on your cell phone, and it's easier to do it all in caps versus, using the shift key. But in person, when done right, can be life-changing. But in person can also be very telling. So do you teach about body language and about the importance of looking at the person and listening in such a way that your body is listening so that they feel heard? Because here's the deal, and I want you to imagine this, and I practice what I preach. So typically, most people, when they come in your office, right? Let's say your computer's over here. They come in, they're here. You're on the email, you're typing. Instead of saying, I'm listening, right? Go ahead, I'm listening. You say, give me 1 second. Let me finish this thought because I want to listen. I want to make sure that I hit everything. I want to make sure I'm giving you my undivided attention. Boom, 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 boom. Shut the computer down or turn it off. Bam. And then turn around. And then keep your eyes and your ears open and ask, when you ask a question, give a person an opportunity to answer it. And then check for understanding. That is a lost skill. Because some people do it very well. Some people do it very poorly. And some people have never been taught to do that.
That's true too. Yeah, that's very true. They haven't even. So it's not a matter of that they don't want to. They don't know how to.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really, really true. That place.
Yeah, and you've been somewhere and someone's like, oh my God, I just felt so good when I left out of that meeting. I just felt so heard. We had a great talk, and you didn't say anything really. It's because the first time in their life, someone let them finish their sentence.
That's powerful. That's powerful. That brings in so much, right? Because now I feel like I'm heard. I feel like I belong. I feel like I'm counted. We have in Scrum, our other framework, we talk about respect. It's the third value of the Scrum framework. And when you give somebody that space, you are saying, I respect your time, I respect your voice, I respect your opinion. That's powerful. Right. And we've realized it's powerful because it's one of Scrum's 5 values, right? Respect. Because in humans dealing with humans, we can't get to work and work well if as human to human there's no respect.
Oh, yes. Try this. We are in such a busy world right now. And I'm intentional about this. I do it on purpose because someone taught me to do it on a communication of training. Like I want to say maybe 25 years ago, and I can't stop doing it. And even if I catch myself and I got to kind of go back, I do it. And this is the deal. You ever had you walking past or you're coming in somewhere and someone says, how you doing today? And usually we just answer, oh, I'm doing well or great or whatever. And we go, oh, great. Thank you. That's it. I tell you, I do this. And every time I do this, it stops people in their tracks. Like, boom, like they almost like, thank you. And I do this. Oh, I'm great. Thank you. How are you? And I wait for their response.
Wow.
And they're looking at me like, oh, almost every time it's a pause. What? Well, actually, I'm doing pretty great. Thank you for asking. Because we don't ask. And when we do ask, we don't look like we really care. We just kind of like, I'm good. How are you doing? And we open our eyes over here. But I'm still looking at him. I'm doing great. Thank you. How are you doing? Start counting because you want to answer. You want to, because it's natural. Just start counting to keep yourself. 10, 9, 8, 7. And they are going to start slowly count from 10 down to 1 because they're going to like, okay, she's really wanting an answer. And they're going to remember that you, the crazy woman in the store that I asked just whatever, I've been asking that same question to everyone. She asks me how I'm doing. Now, you might even get somebody on your that you are an employee or you work alongside, and you ask them that question, and they may say, well, actually, I'm not doing well. And then at that point, an opportunity has presented itself for you to either fold or lead. And lead just means ask another question. And sometimes we're like, well, what do I say then? And oh my God, right? The next question is simple. Would you like to talk about it? And as they're thinking, say, I don't want to intrude, but if you like to talk about it with me or somebody else. And the universal welcoming gesture, hands open. Hands open means your hands and your heart is open. When I think about anybody that does it and they're looking at you like they really care. And I mean, your phone might be buzzing. You might be 20 minutes late for your meeting. You may need to get in your car and go pick up but I need you to pause right there because that person is going to remember that moment. And whatever they believed about you as a leader, as a human, as a person will change forever.
Yeah, Maya Angelou says, I may not remember what you said to me, right? But I always remember how you made me feel.
Oh my gosh. Listen.
Yeah, it's like an imprint that happens in the brain. Like
some people do it so well. I mean, like so well. I had a boss, like I'm talking, you couldn't get no higher in government. I'm talking, right? And he was doing something with somebody else and whatever, and I was talking to someone else about something that was important to me in the community. He's like, listen, he's like, well, and he's like, what are you all talking about? And then all it was like he heard me say was it's important to me, and he looked at the other person, and this was something he would do for all the people, right? But he said, what is that? And someone explained about how it's important to me that we have a program for teen mothers. And the program was underfunded. It was just this one school, and I learned about it, and how it was important to me and why. Right? I didn't even say it to him. I just said it's important to me. He didn't ask any question. He simply said, "Listen," and everybody in the room, they know they can make it happen. That program, put a blanket on it. We're covering that program. Get some details. Work it out with stuff. And I was like, "Oh my God, that is important." And he was like, "Listen, anything important to you all, anything important to you, is important to me." Even on to the next thing. Boom, like it. Now, for the world, the rest of the world, everybody else was there. No biggie. To me, it was like he handed me $1 million. I was important. I was important enough that my little small thing I'm doing on the side here that was important. I was just having a side conversation. You stop what you were doing and told somebody to find out more information and cover that, whatever it is. Find a way, put a blanket over that program. Because if it's important to her, it's important to all of us. And it's not just exclusive for these people in the office, but you too. And you too. And you too. You follow what that will make you want to come to work and work for that person and that organization forever.
Absolutely. That's amazing. So let me ask you this in the working, right? You've had your police career, which is a story in itself, right? Then you've got the university teaching career that you've got. and then you have your coaching career that you've got, right? And
I
you've got
know.
your authoring stuff that you've got, and then you've got the new platform stuff you've got. You got a lot of things that you've got.
Yes.
They would call you in Europe. They call you a slasher, and here they call you a poly worker.
Ah,
Yes,
poly worker. Talk to me about poly
you're
worker.
a poly worker, right? Because you've got all these things you're doing, and European call you a slasher because you're this and you slash this, slash this, slash this, right? So how often did you have to pivot on your journey, and how were you aware you needed to pivot? How often did you have to pivot on your journey, and how were you made aware that the pivot was necessary?
So when you think about anything in an environment, when you are aware of your environment and aware of the needs, like if it would say if you are was it emphatic, right? When you
Hmm.
feel things, when you like, okay, you're a little aware of your environment, so you're like, okay,
Hmm.
in this environment, there, I know some places when I step into, even though I retired from law enforcement, there's some circles that's all they know me. They still know me as this person. That was I'm the go-to. They still email, right?
Hmm.
So when I step in those spaces, I'm still the person that they can give them the answer to the question or get them the answer. So I can pivot and I'm still responsive. I still answer like, and it's like almost like I'm still there, right? You saw me. Yeah, I did it today. It happens. It comes natural,
Hmm.
but it is something that has to happen because when you step into who you are and you authentically step into it, you're walking in your gifts. You're
Hmm.
being authentic, and you're really helping the situation and the people in front of you because you're giving them what they actually need from you in that moment. So that's the first thing.
Hmm.
Secondly, I'm always a speaker. No matter whether I didn't even realize, and before I called myself a speaker, I was a speaker because I
Hmm.
was always put out front. I was a presenter, right? I was a workshop presenter. I was a speaker. I was a keynote. I was a MC.
Hmm.
So as a little girl, I was a middle child. Middle child was always trying to find her voice. If you have any middle children and you're like, oh my gosh, he just won't stop talking, he just won't stop talking, it's because they're trying to find their voice, find their place. Help them find their place. They may not stop talking, but they'll find themselves.
Hmm.
Now, in coaching, you know that every great speaker is also a coach because they're coaching usually they're coaching from the stage or they're coaching from wherever they are because they should be able to leave the audience with something,
Hmm.
right? You got to take them on the journey. And if you're not actually fixing something, not necessarily fixing or healing or helping them to see something differently, then you may not have really if you haven't taught them something, then you actually didn't do the job as you came to do.
Hmm.
So I realized that when I step on the stage, before I even get on there, why did I agree to do it, and what was the purpose, and what do I want to leave them with?
Hmm.
So I got to just remember what is my role, and when you have to pivot, like my goodness, the pandemic. I said this wasn't even a pivot, even though they say, how pivot, they say you're on a swivel, you're turning. This was a whole 365 because, a pivot, you can kind of just, you cute with it. A turn, you just turning. You just turning.
A pivot is not cute. I like
It's
that. A
nothing
pivot
cute,
is not cute. That is good. A pivot is not cute. Mm.
right? You got, because sometimes, look, a pivot sometimes has to be fast.
Hmm.
And think about this, Lizzie. How many companies do you know of? I know, we all know. Matter of fact, think of the companies, some big ones. I'm gonna see like not JCP, Lord and Taylor's and different some of the small businesses, they didn't pivot well.
Hmm.
It's because they were never prepared for the pivot.
That's right.
Remember the what ifs? They
Hmm.
never thought about if, okay, what if this happened, what would we do?
Hmm.
I'm gonna go on a limb and say most women do pretty well with, not all, but most women, we kind of got to be a little bit. You can chew bubble gum and walk at the same time. But at the same time, it's not true of all, because I was just at a retreat and there are women breaking down because this pivot was not one that they played in their mind.
Right. And that's
So,
we have a thing that we talk about, empirical process control.
mm,
Right now, empirical process control asserts that you learn from what you do. So you don't know it until you've experienced it.
yeah.
But the key is, when you're having the experience, is capturing all the feedback. So the listening in for the triggers, the hearing now the fear that's coming up
Yeah.
for yourself, right? But there's 3 steps to this empirical process control for us, right? We call them the 3 pillars: transparency, inspection, and adaptation.
Wait a minute, say it again. Transparency.
Transparency, inspection, and adaptation. So in the transparency, that's you with yourself realizing, I don't know what's going on. I don't know how to deal with this space. I was not prepared for this space. So being, taking grasp of what people call current state. What's current state? But I've got to be transparent about it. But in being transparent about it, I now pull back like a scientist and I inspect.
Mm-hmm.
I don't criticize. I don't judge.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I don't lay out a sentence on myself or others. I just inspect. So I really now look at it and I'm inspecting with purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And the purpose in mind is to make the next best step. That's what we
Mm.
call the adaptation. So it's this method that we go through.
You said the next best step.
Next best step.
I like that.
Right? Because it may not be that we're not talking about perfect step. It can't be perfect.
And you're not talking about the whole picture. You were just talking about the next best step. That takes a lot of pressure off the team.
Exactly. We work incrementally. Our whole framework is about incremental working, piece by piece by piece by piece, because we realize when we work piece by piece, we minimize the risk factor and you minimize the pressure.
Mm-hmm. That's huge.
Right? So
that's huge.
That's what you're talking about, helping people to do, right? Is what our framework does. But because it has been so centered so many times, like I said, in our community, for our community, people get introduced to our community from the corporate spaces, right? Who are wanting to be able to make these small moves that are so valuable. It allows them to extend their lifespan in their industry and overtake their competition, etc. Yet these concepts of, well, how about you just try a little bit today? Or how about you just take one step? This what we talk about, right? The journey of 1,000 miles is made step by step, one step at a time. Now, that's an old philosophy saying, right? But yet, when we're looking at today, we've come and we've said increments work for humans. Mm-hmm. Human workers work best that way.
But wow, and you know what? Think about it. Every space that I've been in, when we didn't have the name for it, like you just said, right? Where we just looked at, okay, we're going to get to this, right? But where we didn't try to have analysis paralysis, we're going to analyze it, we're going to put the data, we're going to input the blah, 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 blah. We're going to do all of this. And I mean, next year, this time, we still haven't got to step 1 because we were so focused on the planning that we were never focused on the implementation. We can't get to the implementation. We plan. You know, I like to joke that, you know, when you have a team of people, there's a little bit of everybody on every team, and there's the person on the team that can come up with ideas. Let's try this. Let's try that. We should do this. Blah 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 blah. And then there's the people on the team that's just sitting there listening, and all they got in their head is implementation. They are the people that make it happen. They can't come up with no ideas, but if you come up with one, they can find a way to make it happen. I'm the girl that is at the meeting, come with ideas. I'm ready to go. I'm the one on the board. Let's do it. But when you sitting down getting the details, I'm the one like, what time is lunch? Right? You all work that out. And when we're ready to do it, I'm back in the game. I'm the do it girl. But we need all of those people at the table. So the idea of just a little bit here, a little bit there, and I drive people. I want you to know I drive folks absolutely bat crazy because while they're thinking we can't do that, I'm already at. Who said we can't do that? Okay, but we don't know. Let's try it. Nobody's ever done it. Oh, for God's sakes, but we get ready to do it. But now that I know the what ifs, I'm really gonna wear them out. But this is back to your question about the pivot. I always know, and I've always had thus far in the last 20 years or so, I had to learn, and now you should give me some ideas and some tools, right, to use in the mind and the head. Is that one thing I know that it doesn't matter what instrument or what we have in place, because there's some great machines on every job. We got the laptops, the computers, the phone, and all of this. None of these things work unless this does, right? And if I don't believe that any of these things are going to work, it doesn't matter if I have them or not, because I won't use them because I don't think they are effective. So I have to be effective. And each time, if something is not true, it's going to sound so elementary school, but it works. I really believe in the philosophy of try, and try again.
Well, see, that's our philosophy. We just don't
call it.
We just don't call it that. So we say we go from one sprint to another sprint with feedback, right? And we have a mechanism that we put in at the end of every cycle. So we work in incremental cycles. At the end of the cycle, we put this thing called a retrospective. And the idea of the retrospective is to allow us to take that really good pause and say, okay, well, what are all the learnings that we've got? What is all the stuff? Okay, now let's take all this stuff that we've learned and let's apply it and run it again.
Bam! So I like this. Now, wait a minute. Now we still on Agile. We on Scrum.
So we're talking about Scrum, which is part of the whole Agile world, right? But a lot of people don't realize Scrum influenced the formation of Agile. So Scrum is older than Agile is.
What does is Scrum an acronym?
So Scrum is not an acronym. Scrum is an actual name.
Okay, sometimes it's an acronym. I had to ask.
No, absolutely right. We have so many acronyms for so many things, but it's an actual name that's representing a framework, right, in which people come together, teams and organizations, to make complex problems, shift them, right, adapt those complex problems, and form solutions that drive value. Not just any solution, but solutions that drive value. Because you found, if you keep running the experiment, every time there's a new learning, there's a new muscle building, right? There's new muscle memory that's happening. And with that muscle memory, now you can do new things. You're like, oh, hold on a second. And every time that data is coming back, right, you're getting the next best step.
Yeah.
Without judgment. And again, no judgments. We're not saying we failed. We learned.
And do you start now but from what you're telling me, the mechanism for this training and how this will be the implementation, it's not a top down, it's we do it together.
It's a we together. We're coming together. So when organizations, when you hear, oh, we're an Agile organization, we're saying then we believe in coming together in spite of our roles, positions, and hierarchies.
Yeah, because the roles
everybody back to being just humans with one goal.
So it's not going to be, the basic training. You got the leadership over here, eating filet mignon and training, and then you got everybody else over there with the box lunches, and then the leadership going to come in and just try to talk at the people to try to get the matter of fact, not even get the buy-in, just talk at the people, and dictate this is what we're going to do,
right? Which are
without input. Ooh, so no buy-in.
So there's no dictation. You don't do command and control.
I like that.
Right? We set the goal, and we explain why the goal is valuable and how it's going to serve us. Because our highest priority in Agile is satisfying the customer, right? As early and as often as possible. So in every business, Your business, you've got customers, right?
Mhm.
Every business frame always has a customer that they're serving.
That's correct.
All right. So the key is satisfying this customer. What is this customer needing from us? And how can we get it to the customer faster? Well, if we're going to satisfy this customer, we've got to figure out how we can work together better. We've got to figure out how we can make sure everything we give them is always great. The excellence of it's good. It works. It doesn't fall out on them when they're expecting it to do something and then all of a sudden it doesn't. No, it remains consistent. And then we don't just stop there. We keep going back to the customer and we keep asking them for more feedback. How could we have made that better? What else would you like to
Oh,
see?
that's good.
So
So
there's
you
a
identify
constant
that.
improvement.
Yeah. So you all identify. You do the work, right? The good work. So it's almost like you almost do the work that businesses should do before they even become a business to even see if it's about what that do the market check, check the pulse, if you will,
Mhm,
of is this even a need? Are you gonna even is it even a need in this community?
mhm,
But you're already in business, so you know kind of who your clientele, your avatar, if you will.
mhm,
So you keep checking back in with that avatar, and you see this is what our avatar is. This is what they like that we know of, and let's check back in and see if their likes are still that, or do
mhm.
we need to pivot? Because what's the example that folks love to give, and I love it too, is about Apple,
Mm,
right? First, it was all about computers. Then
mhm,
it was like, listen, everybody got a computer now. Let's make it about phones.
mhm. And look what it
And
did.
then it came back to computers. And now it's just everything, and Apple just blew up. And folks was like, "What in the work? Where in the world did Apple come from?" Now Apple's on the top, right? But it's a great example of really pivoting
Mhm,
and following meeting the need, just meeting a need. That's all they did was meet a need.
mhm. That was it.
And met a need and made sure you had a superior product.
So let me ask you this as we're closing, right? And I think this question is going to be right up your alley. As you continue to write your life and business story, what is the number one thing you are driving to discover or uncover now?
Wait a minute. The number one thing that I am
Are you
driving to
driving to
discover.
discover, find out, or uncover?
Ooh. To discover or uncover. One, my next.
Okay.
Because there's always a next.
Mm-hmm.
And how can I be better? Because you never arrive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I often hear folks say that about growing, right? And learning. When you stop growing, quite frankly, that means you are dying.
Mm-hmm.
And so, although we know it's inevitable that sometime we have to leave this world, while I'm here, I want to live, but I want to live the best version and don't leave. I want to leave it all here. I don't want to go and say, I wish I had. Someone said that most folks that when they're in their last days, they don't regret anything that they did.
Mm-hmm.
They regret the things that they didn't do. So I want to keep discovering what is it that I'm supposed to be doing?
Mm-hmm.
What do I believe I'm supposed to be? And how can I do what I'm doing better? And how can I be best?
Mm-hmm.
My best.
Right.
My best. The best version of who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And as they said, and create legacy. And when I say legacy, because when I leave, I think Maya Angelou, let's go back to her.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want folks talking about what I did.
Mm-hmm.
I want them talking about how I made them feel.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope it made them feel the best version of who they were, and made them to want to be better versions of who they are. Not for me, not for to get things, but because it made them feel good to be who they were, and they wanted to leave the world a better place than they found it.
So I want to bring up your book here.
Okay.
And I'm going to ask you just to tell people about how my part-time job saved my life, a true story of overcoming abuse and claiming a victorious life by Stephanie Wall. Please take the last minutes that we've got of the show and talk people through this book and let us know where it can be gotten and why this is a book that everybody should be reading.
All right. So this book is for everyone. This book is about, imagine this, ladies, men, women, humans. Everybody, we all been told that we all wear some type of masks, and understanding that when we at work, we do have to present your professional persona. But I'm talking about the mask that you wear to hide your past. I'm talking about the fact that we all have a story. In this book, I tell you my truths with plural, with the S. I completely take off my mask. I take off the cloak that I like to call my superhero cloak. I asked for a do-over. It's actually a chapter called Do-Over. In my book, I talk about the fact that I usually start all of my talks with, my name is Stephanie Wall. Domestic violence almost took my life, and now I'm called to save yours. You'll learn in this book what I mean by that, and why I spend the rest of my life, because I have an opportunity. I have an opportunity to still be alive, to tell the story. And you'll learn why and who and what part-time job I was even talking about in this book. If you have a story that's keeping you tethered to your past, if you're wearing masks that are hurting your face because you want to live your life and you can't because the masks just keep piling on and you don't know how to relieve yourself from them. If you're ready to drop the mask just by hearing a little bit about someone else's story, this book is for you. If you know someone who has a true story, but they wouldn't dare tell it, and it's keeping them held hostage, this book is for you. If there's a woman, a man, a child, a human in your life that they need saving for whatever reason, this book is for you. Come on into my world and find out how something I thought I pushed down into the sunken places, came back up and almost ruined my life. My name is Stephanie Wall. I'm the Tower of Power. And
I
I
love that.
giving it all to you in this
I
book.
love
Thank
it.
you.
I love it. I'm the Tower of Power. So, because if you haven't realized, she's extremely tall.
Yes. I'm tall. Listen, you said, listen to this chair. I am every bit. Look, I'm 5'10" with no shoes on. So you put them, and I wear heels in a minute. So I'm over 6 feet tall with them on. But I have a big smile, a big mouth. My mama said I had a big mouth, but I talk with, I have a very heavy voice, a big personality that fills a room. But even with all of that, for years, I managed to where I could put a mask on and hide all those things that I didn't want the world to know. But it kept me from being all of the things I am now, because you can't grow when you have the mask on.
That's so funny. I have an acronym for mask. I call it maimed attempt at secret keeping.
Ooh.
And it takes a lot of energy
Oh
to do
gosh,
that. So
it's
much energy.
exhausting.
It's so exhausting. Which is why when it comes back and we talk about openness being part of our framework, right? So you've heard transparency is open, right? And openness. So we're saying we're not giving you any place to hide. And when
No.
we decide to be a team working in what it is we work in, we're going to be transparent and we're going to be open.
Right. And
Right?
if you're a leader and there's something about you that most people wouldn't know just by looking at you, it lends to your credibility the moment you tell that truth. Because there's somebody else that has that same story or something similar, and it humanizes you to stop being so perfect, because there are no perfect people in this
No,
world.
absolutely. The flaws, right, is what makes the canvas worth looking at.
Ooh, write that down.
It just is, because that's where you get that depth and you get that shading, right?
Yeah.
So the flaws are necessary, and I often say to people, we have to allow our backdrop, allow the backdrop to lift. And some of the things that people have thought were flaws were so much. They turned out, you look at the mouse that we use today, Xerox thought it was a flaw. And,
Come on,
and they
man.
had it in some cupboard someplace.
Listen, everything from the doggone little donut holes that everybody eating up at Dunkin' Donuts. Let me tell you, we talk about fear.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, you can't be courageous without fear.
That's right.
You gotta be afraid of something first. They go hand in
You have
hand.
to pull on that. And that's one of our values as well in Scrum is courage.
Oh, be
Because courage
courageous.
will cause innovation in a heartbeat, right? But like you said, the fear's got to show up.
It's
And to
got to
do
show up.
something new, to reset and reinvent yourself, to pivot, all
If,
those things are scary.
and if there's no fear, you ain't not doing nothing big and bad. If there's no fear in it, is it really innovative? Or you just done it before? Because you know what I mean. Maybe it's been done before. I mean, if you are like, woo, if I press this button, and you are like, you scared, you are going in the right direction. Press that button, baby. I'm gonna say, bam. Ah, I want you to do some WWFs on that button. Hit it and just celebrate and woosah. Because it's a fact. I have never once hit the button when I'm scared to death and regretted it.
Yes.
But I have regretted
Not hitting
not hitting the button because I was scared. And then watch somebody march right past me to that button and hit it like it was like, you hit the button? Yeah, why you hit the button? Because fear is not being courageous. Feeling fear is okay. Feeling fear and not moving or taking steps backwards. I'm not talking about taking a step back so you can get out the way of the knife coming. Let that by, then reach or back in and hit the button.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because sometimes we do have to get out of the way. Sometimes we do need to take a step back from it just to make sure we are indeed going in the right direction. I'm not telling you to go willy-nilly doing things without thinking it through, but don't analyze it to death.
That's right. Right. And we like to work in time boxes that are 30 days or less.
Oh,
So
I like
that
that.
we can make those things happen. And a lot of us work in 1 week time frames, right? Where we can make that thing happen, get enough feedback. So now we know what is the next best move.
So what is the time? And I know we got to go back. I want to ask you this one question. So the extended, because I would imagine there's nothing that's like, we're going to do 6 months to a year. It's got to be here because there's
it's
too much
always
time.
here. Now we'll repeat that cycle. Understand? So we could be sprinting for 2-3 years, but we sprint within a cycle. If you think about people they run 10-meter sprint or 5 meters, right? We run in a month or less.
Okay.
That's the time box. So we can run for a couple of years, but that sprint is always going to be a specific time box. And if we're working on a week, every week we're going to stop, we're going to pause, we're going to inspect, we're going to adapt, find out what is our next best move. We're going to be open and transparent.
Yeah.
Right? Because think about it. I like to use this analogy. When you're open, you can see the window.
Yeah.
But if I got blinds up and I ain't cleaned that window in a long way, you won't see through it. So we're talking about openness and transparency. So when it's open, we got to be able to see.
Look at you dropping analogies on me up in here.
So we got to clean that thing off so we can see. And it's not just us seeing, we're making it transparent so everybody can see it.
Right.
So all in this together because everybody has got to figure out how we can improve. Everybody's got to figure out how we can work together. So yeah, it's a very powerful framework, right? It's like I said, concepts people like to see in motion. Some people have already done, and even if they haven't done it with others, they're doing it with themselves, which is why they were able to get to where they were. You were transparent with yourself about the fact you needed to tell your story. You're transparent that this thing, the way I'm living life right now, is going to kill me if I stay in this place. That was transparency.
Right.
If you don't get personally transparent, it's very hard for you to do group transparency.
Ooh.
right? So
Oh,
personal transparency comes first, always. It's me being transparent with myself. And once I'm transparent with myself, I have the ability then to be transparent with others, right? Because we're creating again this space of openness, and respect comes with the openness. So when I'm open and transparent, I'm not exposed
mm-hmm.
because I respect the vulnerability you've just shared with me. I respect what you've just made us all partakers of. And because I respect that, my commitment is to keep the openness alive. So I'm not going to betray that vulnerability.
Ooh, I said that there's power on the pages, because by writing my story, I released the story and I released the fear of it being told.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Right.
and it's and where it was powerful for me to write it and speak my truth, it has been confirmed in the power that it has given other people is even more powerful than I could have ever imagined.
Mm-hmm.
Like ever.
Mm-hmm.
And then which gave me the courage enough to go out and create a book project, and then I helped other women write their stories and that would never thought about writing theirs, and they're like, it's so life transforming. So the truth of the matter is, give it away. You can't even outgive the universe.
Mm-hmm.
You can't give yourself away enough.
That's right.
You want to
And
help, you want to
that's a
change your life,
wonderful thing.
you want to change your life, help somebody else.
Yeah, I love that. So we are uncovering better ways,
Oh,
doing life by doing it and helping others do it. And through this, we have come to value that our connection with another human is important, way more important than the processes and tools we put in place to police those things. The connection with the other human is important. So, on that note, we are closing out. Thank you again for being here on Let's Talk Agile. We just want to offer you we're coming into the weekend. Let your weekend be fun. Let it be fabulous. And keep inspecting and adapting to take yourself the next step of the way. Don't ever give up on covering a better way to be you and do you.